Hi, everyone. Okay, so this is a pretty big spot for ES. This is the area that we talked about on the report that has yet to digest. We still have to digest between 68.38. Let me just clear this out. We still have to digest between 68.38 and 68.52. Just because we gapped above there doesn't mean that we don't come back to digest certain areas. It's definitely still going to be something that we have to eventually come back to at some point in time. So let's just quickly cover this. 69.32, 60.87. Strikerman, you're worried about next week. Why don't you worry about right now? Well, our odds are for next week are relative to whether or not we hold here right now. Aw, thank you, Boulder. Did you capture the short? The short trade? Nice, thanks guys for the streaks. Okay, we'll discuss this in a sec. Are you in the Discord? I did post a bunch in Discord all morning, but... Okay, I'm not going to put too many areas here. I'm just going to post the... Actually, I guess I can put core ranges here. It's fine. Okay, let's make this white. Up here, let's mark our 5.2, 5.375. Okay, so let's review. Okay, do you guys want to review the report together? Here, let's review this together. Just 1 second. Let me close some stuff. I have too much shit open. Okay. So on Wednesday I put this out because I wanted to, we had some pretty good odds all week of getting into the zone, which we did do, but I knew that there was some odds that they could stall the 50s. There's a lot of overhead around here, so close to 695375. That was exactly 88 point range. Okay, if you want to track this, where'd it go? Okay, around 69.4950, 69.52, 69.50.50. Okay, above there is the only way that we would be able to break to 62, 68, so on and so forth. So the first condition that we had to start overnight session on Wednesday was we had to test these areas here, the 50, 50, 49, 52, whatever that spot was, and that 53.75. Okay, they stalled exactly at that 53.75. That was my max overhead in the 50s, so that was an extremely calculated range. Okay, right here. So that's the first thing for starters. The means anywhere in the 50s always implies volatility. If it's between like 50, 51, 52, 56, 58, usually when you get above 5.8, your odds of volatility start to decrease. Okay, we then came back tested the zone. We did a pretty good job all week of holding above the zone. My first condition to start the week on Monday was, like on Sunday's session, was they're probably not going to digest this just yet because they almost always take it to a zone or channel before Fed release. So there was higher odds that they would avoid going back beneath 6.6. Okay, 6.6 is where core areas usually start. They'd probably sustain 6.6, take it up to the zone above 8.8. Notice how they left this area of risk all week, so they kind of left it on. They did breach it a little bit on Wednesday when we had FOMC. They then took it back, stalled this area overnight. So we still had odds of the channel. So we never digested this area here. Do you guys see what I'm saying? Like in this area here, above here, we have yet to digest, okay? Is digesting the channel important? The channel is the beige box, the beige area. Okay, wait 1 second. 1 second. I have to check my Pfizer position. Sorry. Hold on. So that means Pfizer's clearing highs. Where did it go? I took Pfizer long off that. Where is it? Where's PFE? Off this 24.29 yesterday. This was a really, really good trade. I think this one could actually come out and take out yesterday's high range. A lot of things are stuck in an inside bar, but I figured some of them could actually end up breaking by end of day, which I think is becoming the case. Sorry, I just want to make sure I have my exit set on things. What about XOM? Oh, XOM also broke. I'm long crude right now too, if anyone cares. Amazon never broke that 244.47 support. This was another indication here that the index might hold. Okay, sorry. So that was for starters. Usually you have to digest this beige box area here. Sorry, my positions are all going off. I guess that's good. I guess I picked the right names to trade today. That's good. Yeah, they're destroying it, but somehow Pfizer and XOM are breaking up. These are the two names I'm day trading. I was looking for 114.77, 114.84 break on XOM. I did next week's expiration for XOM. Chevron reported really good earnings today. And I figured crude could maybe start looking at like a bit of a bottom range here. It's setting up really nicely on a 4-day. This doesn't flip over till Wednesday next week, so I'm thinking crude could gap over the weekend. Just something that's worth mentioning, especially with how some of these numbers reported today. Okay. This is a really good one to keep on watch. I didn't really look at Oxy, but I'd imagine that Oxy could be a good one if the sector starts moving, because they don't even report till the 10th. So these are just some trade ideas for next week. Financials were another trade idea. I still have my Bank of America calls for next week. I still think that this one clears that 12-month range. So these are just some other trades you guys could look for outside of this. Okay, back to ES. We have to digest this area. Either way, even if they were to take this to 88, 83, 7,000, at some point in time, they have to come back and digest. So you guys know how we have gap ups sometimes? Are you guys listening? You know how sometimes we have gaps and then some people are like, oh, you always feel a gap? That's not necessarily true, okay? But depending on the price area that you gapped at or the price action prior to the gap, you do have to come back. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to you guys? I tried creating logic around how to figure out when we're going to come back and fill gaps down or gap ups or whatever. In this case scenario, do we have to come back and fill this gap? What do you guys think? The longer you guys take to answer, the less I'm going to give you the real-time breaks right here. I'm trying to do a quick recap for you guys, which I definitely don't have to do in real time. Yes, okay, they do have to come back and fill this gap, right? Why? Why do they have to fill this gap? Because one, it's a channel, okay? Channel, the whole purpose of a channel is to do what? What's the purpose of a channel? What's the purpose of these beige areas here? And notice how they nested it here pre-FOMC. This was not a coincidence. This is exactly what I wrote on Sunday's report. If anything, we want to come back and digest the channel pre-Fed release, and that's exactly what they did, okay? So, what's the purpose of a channel? what's the intention of even having one in the first place? I mean, it could reduce risk, but the whole purpose is to sit back and think. It's a thinking box. It's a digestive area. It's a consolidation area, right? So of all places, the channel has to digest. Like, this is an area that has to digest. We did digest a little bit between 3.4 and 3.8. Okay, we never did above that. So we have to digest between 3.8, 4.4, 4.8. Okay. And obviously between these 50s. The 50s we haven't really digested too much yet, but we did at least trigger them. So that was one of the first conditions, okay, is that we at least have to come back and digest this area here. And then on the report that I put out on Wednesday, okay, I had said that for structure, it's vital we support 6888, as now breaking this a second time around is going to entail that we would likely trigger 6866, 6871, 68778, right? And we have the odds still of getting into the channel. So where did we trigger yesterday initially? We triggered 6.6. Okay, you're just looking. Yesterday we failed to clear our 17, 14. Where's the 14 neutral zone here? That's weird. Why are these preset like that? What the hell? 50. Oh. Because I don't usually do. There we go. Okay. We failed the neutral zone yesterday. Okay, neutral stalls imply what? Neutral zones imply two directional price action, right? Indecision, mid zone, no direction. It's not in bull's core. It's not in bear's core. It could go either way. So when we stalled yesterday after hitting 6.6, okay, if we had odds of breaking into the channel, that means that if we don't sustain 6.6, odds of getting to 3.8, 4.4, 4.8 heavily increase. Is everyone in agreement with that? Okay. While we still had a probability of hitting closer to 6852, 6858, the channel would be a bit safer for us because that's an area that we still have to digest. Just because we didn't trigger it doesn't mean that we're not going to. So at some point, I would rather just get it over with now. Does that make sense? Than have to worry about it like a week from now. Because if they held us, kept us going higher, the further and further we got away from it, then it's the bigger the drop when the time comes. So I would have rather just tested this area this week anyway. Yesterday, after they stalled, they failed to get above neutral ranges. They failed the 5375. That was my exact calculated area from the report too. Was 5375. They brought it to the bottom of the zone of the channel, right at the top of the means. Do you see this? Okay, that's off the report. That's that 5152. Then they brought it back. Okay, so what happened overnight here? What was the issue overnight? What do you guys think? I want you guys to analyze this. There was two things. So we did say that our big spot was 1725 and 1921.22, correct? Let me just mark the 2-2 spot. So what was the confliction here overnight? They held 5.2. They pushed it back up into the close. We managed to close at 6897, 6894. So still in the bear zone, but at least above 8.8. Okay. They tested 6905 overnight. They stalled they did take out 6917. That was my target. But then couldn't quite clear to 22 and then stalled and came back beneath. Okay. They opened today's session at 6902, which is I usually consider this orange area, like you're still kind of playing with fire there because you're not quite neutralized just yet. Like had we opened closer to like maybe 6905, I think that those odds would have been better. Then we came back, and if you guys were listening in real time, I had odds today. Let's go back. And I was saying this earlier. Where is it? Okay. Someone asked, and I said, We have a flip at 11:20, 11:21. If we can clear 8-9, or yes, 8-9 or 9-9-01 opening range, okay, ahead, then the lows are in. If we don't clear at that point in time, the lows are not in. Okay, this is what I was saying earlier this morning. Do you guys see this? This was a huge point in time. This is the perfect area to go short. And I kind of looked at it as like an hourly or 59-minute interval from when lows actually trigger this morning, because I wouldn't, like, going back to core areas, you're at risk now. Like, anytime we're back beneath 8-8 at this point, you're back at risk of testing 3-8, 4-4, 4-8, 5-2. Does that make sense? Stalling at this point in time here this afternoon, though, or this morning, this implied pretty big risk, because now we're going to be at risk of, we already tested 5-2, we already tested 5-8, we already tested 6-6. There's nothing beneath that now until we get to 4-4, 4-8, correct? So this was the stall. This was the big flip that I had marked today. Right here, perfect short entry. Okay, then we had Trump come in and tweet. We had this big sell stick here beneath 8-8. Trump tweeted. They did get it back over. And I'm going to explain this to you guys in a second, because we did have some progression today. This is very conflicted because we still tested 17. This is good. Okay. We still opened above 9-9. This is good. Not perfect, because I would have still preferred above 05. We couldn't close yesterday. We closed above 8-8, okay, yesterday for the session, but I would have still preferred that they closed maybe closer to above 9-9, okay? So can you see what I'm saying? Like, it's like there's some things that were good, some things not so good. What kind of price action could that indicate for us when you have one check on, one check off, one check on, one check off? This is good, this is bad. This is good, this is bad. This is good, this is bad. Like, what does this mean? They still tested 9-9 at this time, though. Okay, it's not like they didn't test it. It's also month end. They still retraced 8-8 here. So this is actually, even though they stalled and came back below, they still technically tested it. Okay, what does this mean for us, especially since it's month end? Okay, and then here you go. I'm just going to mark the support areas that I actually had. So we had the 6-6, 5-8. 5-8 was actually also, these were some calculated ranges. Okay, so let's mark 4-4, 4-3, 3-8, 4-8, 4-9. Okay, off opening range. So we opened today at 69.02. Okay, when I watched this earlier, I'm like, oh, this was a 34-point hold right here. Do you see that? They tried their best to hold 34 points, and then they just couldn't quite do it. This is a really good long, by the way, guys, off 4-4. They couldn't quite do it, okay? Then they came back. There's something else that stood out here, though. Just because they didn't hold, what did they do? Okay, they still tried retracing 6.5 points. So that's half of that 12 ratio. So not quite enough for me to be convinced that they're going to not take it further down. So my next range was 44 points. Okay. Where did they hold here? They held exactly 44 points. Do you see it right here? You guys listening? This is where I tried along. I was like, okay, they held 44 points here. Maybe they hold 5-6, 5-7, 5-8. Okay, they broke 17 points. That's good. This was a 13-point break right here. They broke 17 points. So if we hit 44 points, obviously I want to go back at least 22 points, okay? We couldn't quite get that. This is where they then sold it off further, okay? So, but we did technically hit 17 points, so that was good. So around 7, I think it was between 7.3, 7.4. I think what I said is we had to break 7.4 and 7.8.50 or something like that. Okay? So then I was like, okay, max range 64, 66, 68 points. Because we opened in a core area this week, what kind of ranges are we likely working with? Core ranges are usually 51, 55 points. We did open at a core area to start the week. We closed at a core area. So what areas could we potentially sustain? 51 to 56 points, okay? It seems to be a very common theme. And you know who actually pointed that out this week? and picked up on it. Snack actually picked up on that, so good job on that. He determined that we're working in 50 to 55 point ratios this week. Usually it's around 56, 56 and a half. So this gives us an odd to get to what? We held a core ratio. This is not a core area, but it's a core ratio because we started off at a core week. We had a core close on Friday, core open on Sunday. Okay? What could this imply for us? Try not to get this wrong. This could give us a core break, okay? This could get us back to those at the high range, 69.20s. On a lower range, back to core areas, 6.8, 6.9, 7.4, 7.8. Do you get what I'm saying? Those are the odds that are in play here into the close. We still had risk down to the bottom of the channel, and that would have been right at 3.2. So the 68, like where they opened today is not a coincidence. They made it so that we opened, and if we broke 66 to 68 points, it's literally 3.2, 3.3. Do you get what I'm saying? Like right at the bottom of the channel. Those were my max short ratios for the week. So the only area that I feel like maybe they would have tried holding if they continue this down is down here. But because they held here, okay, and off the actual close yesterday, which yesterday's close was 06. That's a 64 point ratio. Off the highs, 75, meaning you'd have to get back over 50 right away. Okay, this area here. Off of today's actual open in real time, we just hit 34 points right here. Do you see this? This is a 34 point break off actual session open. We still had some downside risk, but based on where we opened the week, which was a core open, okay, 51, 55 points, we had odds of holding a core ratio for today's low. Why would this week's open be correlated to today? Where's the correlation there? I'm not saying we don't have downside risk still, we do. There's still a little bit of room in this area here for downside, but we had pretty good odds of holding around 4.4, 4.8. Okay? Especially if they can take out 13, 14 points, 17, and now we're looking for 22 point range breaks, which they just did. Off 6.5, 6.6, which is back to the first major support area that started off on Sunday's session at core. Why does Sunday's range or Sunday's opening range or Sunday's, why would that even matter for today? What's today? This was a core close on Friday. This was a core open, 55.75 points. Okay? From this to Monday's actual open, which was 8.3, it was around 58 points. Okay? If you guys don't answer, I'm just going to go back to my own positions. I don't have to be on the mic. From where we stalled right here, this is exactly 55.75, which was our weekly gap. Why would that even matter? Why does it matter for today? Why does Sunday's weekly open matter for today? What's the logic behind that? In terms of the ranges where we're holding into the close. Sunday's weekly open. Weekly open. What's today? Today's our weekly what? It's the weekly close, okay? You have the weekly close. It's correlated to Sunday's open, okay? Exactly, open close ratios. So they sustained the same ratios from open to close, okay? They had a core to core open, which is usually around 56 points. They're sustaining 56 points. Are you guys listening? Okay, wait, let me get back to my XOM position because this is snapping. Yes, does that logic make sense? Okay, last logic of the day for you guys. We've got 2 hours left. We still have so much time left in the day, okay? The day's not even over yet. We still have lots of time left. If we started the week off at a core open, we have high odds of getting, especially if we sustained a core ratio off today's open and lows, if those end up being our lows, we have a high odd of getting a core close, okay? To get a core close, the minimum area you have to get back to is 6.6. This is where core areas start, okay? Is everyone on the same page? We already hit 22 points here. This is probably the 32, 33 point ratio here where they stalled. Yeah, it is. Okay. So these are going to be the areas that we're going to start working with. We couldn't get a clearance over 7, 6, 7, 8 earlier, which is what we really needed to get a big structure break. This is if they clear these areas here, okay? Otherwise, we're still at risk of this area for downside. This could also reset the close, and it could just go back to Friday's close. I don't think that that's a high probability because it's not just any close. What's today's close? What's today's weekly close? It's not just a random close on a random Friday. It's the monthly close as well, okay? So odds of them doing that are probably not as likely, okay? But so at the very least, it would be nice if we can get back to here because this is a core break. But we technically getting, so it's actually insane. Where they're holding here, guys, is extremely calculated. Because if they hold here, a 44-point break takes us back to the zone. Isn't that insane? Do you guys realize how calculated today's open was? Like everything that they do in the market is extremely calculated based on math ratios. So if they can break this area here, this is 22 points. That's where they're stalling right here. Okay. Which also is the first core range at 6.566. They have odds of getting back to retest 7.678 with a potential of getting back into the zone. If they can take us back into the zone, okay, guess what? Those 55, 56 ratios are back to retesting the areas that we stalled in opening range. And I would bet anything that a 68-point range is probably coming back to retest yesterday's stalled highs back in here. Do you see that? Up here. And this is, remember how I say core ratios usually work 25, 28 points, 51, 56 points, 71, 78 points, like usually around 75 because they're in increments of like 25. This would be a bigger core move if it takes you back there. I don't think we have enough momentum to do that, but sometimes month end is crazy depending on the range we get. So far it's not looking too constructive, but we'll see where we hit by like 224, 230, 230, 236. Otherwise a full 88-point break, guess what? That would take you to the top of your zone back to 6.93133. And this doesn't all have to be right now or today, but this should help you guys have at least an idea of like your risk to reward ratios. Does that make sense? Like I would hope that now you guys are like, oh, okay. So even if they stalled all afternoon here and just pin this area here, that's still okay. But now you know that this is definitely your risk below. This is very, very clear that what they did back in here and back in here. So the areas that are super confined are like 6.876 to 6.878, 6.888, which is 44 points, 68, 65, 75, which is that 22 points, 68.99 to 69.01. And that makes sense because that's literally where they're stalling. And then the 66 to 66 point ratios would be back in a neutral zone. That would be like taking it back to 69.09, 10, 12. Those are the areas that we just couldn't clear yesterday. Okay, neutral areas are 69.06 to 69.12 area. 66 to 68 points. Okay, and then max range, which is our 88 point ratio that I did say we're going to work with this week, is 6932, aka top of the zone. Everyone's on the same page? And overall range now for the week, from a high to low ratio, I think we said if we break 88 points, we could hit 107 to 115. We hit 110, okay? How many points is 107 to 115? What are those ratios? Those are a third of what? What's that a third of? That's a third of 346 points. Isn't that insane? How calculated that is? And guess what? From the closing point on Friday to the weekly highs, we are now hitting, and I think this would be a little bit higher, we are now hitting 128 points. If we break 88 point ratios, right, and if we gap those, you usually can get 96, 107, 115, 128 to 132. Isn't that nuts? 128 point range from Friday's close. So sustaining these guys is also 107 to 115 point ratios. So I guess if they would have taken it just a tiny bit lower, that's probably why they range between 107 and 115, around 110. Because it knows that. So that's actually insane. I never even looked at that. So if they did break 115.75, which is a third of 346, I didn't even realize that. Off of highs, that's crazy. Our 3.8 target is also a third of 346 points at 115.50. Isn't that crazy? So 6.8, 3.8, which would have been our next and probably our max low target range, is 1/3 of 346 off highs, which is 115.15 points. That's insane. That's actually crazy. So we had very, very, very good odds that they could hold 4-4. So this area here is a big spot to hold. Okay? Okay, I'm gonna get back to my positions. So I'm gonna mute myself. Do you guys want the screen on? I had some odds here at 205. That was the earliest odd I had of breaking 6.8. There's some odds at 207. It's really the 7.1 to 7.4, 7.7, 7.8 areas that we have to clear. And ideally you want to do them by the 2:30 mark, because I don't want to delay too long, because that's going to give us higher odds of getting back into the zone. Okay, so this could be a very good long trade, guys. 68.68 clearing here on time. I want to see if they can try testing back over 7.1 during this period here. Okay, I'm gonna mute myself and just focus on my trades. Hey, they need to snap these areas here, hey? Especially at this point in the day, like if they take out 717, 574, like this would be the best point in time to try clearing these spots because this is what expands the market. EXO or Bank of America taking out yesterday's range. A lot of names now are breaking out of their inside days because a lot of names were stuck. So this is getting pretty close to taking out yesterday's high range in terms of like midpoints on that lower break with volume. You guys are aware that we can go back to 6920s, even 6900, like, would be good if they break these areas at these points in time. Like, it's just breaking these core ranges that could get us back in the zone. So these are really important times of day coming up here, especially if they start stalling 7-4. 7-4, 7-8 is really the big overhead. Can you guys vote, please? Okay, so this window is really important because if they can break early, and by early I mean like 221 to 224, specifically the 7.4 area and I would say 7.5, 7.6, it's gonna really help our odds in terms of getting like a break into the zone as early as 230. Does that make sense, guys? 221 testing 7.4 here, or 7.3, sorry. There it is, 7.4 tested at 221. This is a really good point in the day here to be breaking. See if we can get some continuation through this period here. And like I said, it doesn't have to be much, but 7.5, 7.6, these tiny little breaks can help us achieve range. So we get more votes than that. So I can already tell that they're gonna get breaks of 7.4 to 7.8 just based on the fact that they tested 7.4 at 2.1. I'll confirm that if they clear 7.4 before 2.4. Bank of America getting some really good breaks here on that. For it to just come right back up. The market's gonna potentially expand this afternoon. Amazon set a trigger at that 247. I think a lot of accounts can go from red to green today, honestly. 74 broken here at 2.3. Let's see what kind of sticks we get here. 74 close. I want to see if they can try testing at least 7.6 off the 2.4 stick. See what I mean? This period here, 221 to 224. These are perfect ranges. Whoever voted 7.4 to 7.9, I think you're wrong. Just because of the nice break that we got right now at 221 to 224. We still obviously need a little bit higher than this, but I think just even getting 7.4, 7.5 is good to keep this in play through the 230, 236 duration. I'm gonna mark 236 to 238 on here. Yeah, and I feel like at the very least, Brendan, they'll probably try testing the weekly open. You know what I mean? Like between 8.1 and 8.3. And it would make sense if they didn't take out 7.6, 7.8 back here, because they probably want to do it in a single stick or something to like, does that make sense? And probably during these periods here too, so like around the 230 to 232 periods. Those are usually really important points in the day anyway for volatility. Yes. Yeah, exactly. A lot of it's going to be relative to what they do here. See if there's any follow through off the 2.5 stick. 7.6 stalling so far. This could be the first area that you could cover if you wanted on the long, because 7.6 is a pretty big overhead. But I'm gonna wait only because we usually have pretty good odds during 230, 232. What time did we hit lows at? 121. Are there any time frames that have multiple flags or anything like that? I don't know why my computer is not working. Like there's something wrong with it today. It's not letting me type in my search thing. And I don't want to restart right now. Damn it. Why is that not working? Why is it not working? I don't know why that's not working. Should I restart my computer, you guys think? I don't know. I could probably time this a lot better if I do, but I don't know. I don't really want to restart right now. Not at 7.6. Not before 2:30. So we'll watch Amazon too if Amazon can break this 247.87 area. Did I not have alerts already preset on Amazon? All right, what do you guys think? Who here thinks that they'll clear 7.6, 7.8 during the 2:30, 2:33 period? Six nine seven six 6978 between two. I'm just gonna go 2:30 to 2:33 p.m. because technically we have until through 2:36 and 2:38, but I feel like the earlier they make these breaks, the higher our odds get of getting expansions on the session today, because then we could use our 2:36, 2:38 periods, 2:45, 2:48 periods for extensions into the zone or something. Because then that way we have an odd of getting to the zone before what time? If we clear 7.881, let's say, around this 2:30, 2:36 period, we have odds of getting to the zone around what time? Before when? And if we can get there before that specific point in time that I'm not going to tell you because you should know, before 3, if we can get there before 3, the odds are going to be really, really, really good for the 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. period. 68.76 being retested here. Let's see. Still no constructive close though. It's still closing at the same point. I didn't mark 3-3, but that's the higher odd. How many points is this now? Oh, 30, almost 33 points at 2:30. Wait. Wait a second. Wait a second. They're stalling by 0.25. It needs to break 76.5. Two-point reduction stick here off the 231 candle so far, 2.75. I think that's close to bringing 7.8 or 7.9. Okay, let's see. Things could definitely get volatile up here because these technically could be considered max ranges for the session on the upside, but I feel like based on where they held and the time they held and the conditions and it being month end and a lot of other things that are playing major factors, they should be able to take it out. We have odds of 2:33 p.m. That's a high odd. I'm just going to move this down to 7,650 and 7,750. I don't know. I'm not a moon a cycle trader. All right, let's watch in the first 30-second interval here. What do you guys think? You think it does it? They're stalling so far. This could get volatile, guys. Just be careful. That's a pretty big volume off that range at 234. Can one of you write that in the chat? Izzy thinks we're going to see an increase in volatility here. So just be very cautious because there could be some wider range sticks and fast moves. Especially because they met the range of 7.6, but they couldn't quite clear 7.650. 233 was the earliest odd of that. So this is where they could start reducing range a little bit here too. Unless they immediately negate between like that 36 through 38 period. Is it 36 yet? I don't know. I don't know if they're going to do it, but this looks like it could be a minute delayed if they don't break on that 30-second interval here. I think this is the 30-second break, but this to me looks volatile. I want to watch 3-7. I know, that's why I'm saying just be a little bit cautious, because these would be very big points in the day to stall, especially at big price points and major times of day. I'm thinking, based on that price action, they are likely going to delay. I don't know what's wrong with my computer, you guys. This thing is... I need to restart. So I just want to see if the 3-7 stick tries to hold off and then negates off that 3-8. These are also pinnable areas too, right? Remember how I said the first ranges that they could take it to is 7-4, 7-8, 8-1, like, and they could just pin it there. So these areas, 7-6, sorry, could easily be pinnable spots for the session close today too. They're still core ranges. So if they decide that they don't want to give much more range than this or take it back to the zone, they could easily just leave it off these areas here too. BAC got that full break, 53.28 getting retested. XOM stalled the 115, but is making a bit of a comeback. So remember what I said, I think ES could delay. They could do it a minute late. The minute late would be right now, guys, post the 3-8. This is the minute late I was talking about because of volatility increasing. If they don't take it out at this point in time, though, I would cover at least half your positions, because that's when they really would start to increase volatility. It'd have to be off like this 30-second interval here. So let's see. I think it just flipped right now. There it is. Do you see that? Look, 7-6 breaking here. 7-6-2-5 right off that 30-second break. This is the minute delay, which means that there's implied volatility here. Typically when that happens, range and volatility can increase. We should see some stick breaks here of 7-6. We did do it at 3-9, right? Just in time. Do you guys see that? Look. That was the final 5 seconds. That is insane. That is pretty crazy. Look at this. Right at the 7-650. 7-650 close at 239. That was a required condition considering they delayed that, meaning that they had to meet that price off that minute delay post 238. But we have to see if there's follow through here at 241. We still have to take out 7-750 and 7-8. Isn't that insane that they met that exact price? So 33 points were met and closed above. It wasn't that it was just met there. They also closed at that price point, which is really important in terms of trying to reduce some of the volatility risk here before 3 o'clock. I didn't mark 244, but we're going to watch that point here too. Yeah, but we still need 750, 7875 breaks. Like, this is good, but it's not quite enough for it to have full continuation. It does need a little bit higher. Okay. And ideally before 3. We have minute delays now. And increase in volatility. How many points was that stick? 5 points. Isn't that pretty insane, guys? Oh, there it is. That's the delay. Post 4-1. I'm going to watch 4-4. 34-point break, guys. Can someone document this? We're hitting 34 points at 7,750. Clearing this could give us a very high odd of getting a 44-point break. A 44-point break off lows is exactly back to the top of the zone at 6,887.50. If we can clear these areas before 3, we have very good odds of getting back to opening range today. Let's see what they do off the 4-4 stick. We'd be looking for the 7,750, 7,875 break. You guys know how nice I am that I was covering all this analysis when we were hitting lows right here. I had entered some ES, but I didn't enter my SPY position until 5-4, which is still okay, but 4-4 was a much better entry. All right, let's see here. Bank of America is clearing the 50. So this I was looking to see if they'd actually get some breaks to 3839 to 44. That was my target on this one today. EXO, I'm seeing a bit of a drop. Amazon tested these areas too at this point in time. Oh, Amazon actually did test the 247.87 at 233. So let's watch and see if Amazon can clear this area during that 250 to 248 window. So I guess some of these names haven't cleared yet. This is a very big area, guys, on a 34-point break. We haven't closed above it yet, though. So we do have to have a closing stick above 77.50. If you're long off the lows, I would definitely cover at least something here. This is a really big spot at a very big point in the day. They stalled a little bit here at 2-4. So what do you guys think? You think that they clear 77.50 during the 248, 250 period, or you think that they keep this stuck and delayed? If they don't clear this area before, let's just say they don't clear 7.8 to 8.1 before 3 p.m., which is 34-point range and weekly opening range, our odds of expanding decrease. They've had a lot of delays though, so we're gonna watch 5.1, 5.2. XOM sold off a lot after stalling 115. I think I'll hold half my XOM calls though into next week. What do you guys think? You think we get a crazy final hour for month-end close? Or you think that they keep it pinnable at these core ranges? Well, slip limit, I feel like you're a perma bull though, so you're always bullish. Oops, not 20. I'll give thoughts on gold after. Not right now. I'm not trading it, so I don't care right now what the hell gold's doing. Okay, we're approaching pretty important times. I noticed a lot of my names are breaking back up. So there is some strength in oil and financials, which is good. I moved the odd to 5.7 just because of the delays that we had. I still watch 5.4, 5.5 just to see if they'd retest that 7.175, but because we had some delays, I figured they'd probably move it back at the 5.7 mark. I think we just have to basically see if they can get it back over 7.4 before 3. So if they can get this 5.7 stick back over 7.4, let's look to see if they can get a 7.650 retest during this time period here. We do have farm prices too after 3 o'clock. Are you guys okay if I keep myself muted just so I can focus on my stuff? So if they take out 7.750 before 3, that means we are closing over a 34-point ratio before 3. Wow. They actually did it. They got 7-8 breaks here ahead of 3 o'clock, guys. If they give us a good close here over 34 points, we have really good odds for the session. See if they can give us a break of 7.9 and try testing 8.1 right off that 3 o'clock stick. Some of you guys started getting impatient. Remember we had delays, so the odds of them breaking were a little bit late. That was the 5.7. Look at this 5.7 stick too, right back to 7.4, 7.6. They closed over 34 points, guys, for 259. See if we can get a weekly OR retest here in the first 5 minutes post 3 o'clock. If you want to cover some here at 782, you definitely can. So since we have some delays, we'll watch like 301, 302. We want to see if they can give us those retest of weekly opening ranges. What was the exact weekly open? Hey? Was it 8.1 or was it 8.125? I don't remember. I forgot. 8.1, okay, and then the real-time open on Monday for US was 8.3. So let's watch this 0103 just to see if they can try clearing the 7.875 wall. How many of you guys actually took this long trade though? I also noticed back in here they held 6.8. So this was a really good structural hold right here off 6.8, which gave it better odds of actually clearing this area this time. I haven't been pinning this, but someone just mentioned it. I think this could actually get back to that 1815 mark. Amazon didn't clear though. I noticed that. You're just observing this kind of a move. This is not a move to observe into month end. These are really, really good odds. 68.81 being triggered here right off that 302 stick. That's that delay once again. Market's moving in about 2-minute delays. That seems to be the trend. So we're going to work with it. They did test 8-1 but stalled. I'm just going to delete this so I can see it properly. And then we'll watch to see if they can try retesting here by that 305 to 309 window. Pfizer looks like it's coming back to retest highs. Yeah, but the delays, what do they imply usually? So they did test 8-1, they did test 7.650, they did clear 7.8, 7.5. But what do these delays usually imply? Volatility, yeah. Usually you can get like these sticks, like this wick, back down, back to 7.850, another 4-point stick down. And those offsets are likely these breaks right here. That's a good way of reading price action. Or Bank of America could trigger 53.39, 53.40. I wanted to see if this one would finally break out of an inside range. This is basically taking out its 11-month ranges, and it is flagging on the 11-month, so this is one of my long positions for the month of November. Okay. And I figured if it can close the month over these areas here, are you guys listening? Over these spots right here, this can give really good odds of getting an expansion break for November on Bank of America. Bank of America testing its 11-month intervals into monthly close. 53.40 would be the minimum closing area I'd want to see on this one today, which would also be breaking out of an inside range. Well, yeah, because they're trying to determine now if they want to pin weekly open, if they want to pin the zone, if they want to pin today's opening range. Do you know what I'm saying? Like they're trying to decide, do they pin it here between 6.8 to 8.3? Do they pin it between 8.8 to 9.9? Do they pin it between 0.5 to 17? Or do they actually try going for 21 to 32? What would be the craziest case scenario today? Let's hear it. Month end can be aggressive sometimes. We've seen them move 30 points in the last 10 minutes before during month end closes. What would be the craziest scenario? And I mentioned this on Wednesday, and this was my max range that I set on Thursday. If they now were limited to this area for the week, and that would be like a max range. What would that area be? Do you guys remember? No, 5.8's way too high. I highly doubt they'd give us 5.8. 5.8 also doesn't have confluence. No. 5.8 was a range if they took out 5.3 early on. 5.8's not, I don't even think that's a probability now. This is if they took us down. Yeah, it was around 69.32 to 69.38. I think it was 69.38 is what I mentioned yesterday. I don't remember why it was 3.8 though, but it was 3.8. 3.2 is the area from today off the lows, but we had, why did we have 3.8? I don't remember, but 3.8 was the area, and I figured that that's probably the max that they would take it back to in the event that they did break. It might have been based on, it might have been based off of maybe yesterday's low range. Oh, so this is 66 points off yesterday's lows. I think 3.8 was the 88 points off yesterday's lows. Yeah, it was. Like 3.9, sorry. Well, those are the channels. So yeah, basically they could take it back to the channel. Well, if they held the channel, sometimes they can take it back to the channel. Okay. But off of today's lows, we have higher odds of like 3.1, 3.2, 3.3. Off of the opening range though, 2.2. And this is where you'd have max off today's open at 4.6, 4.4. So if they brought it back to 4.4, it would be a 66 point break off today's opening range. Does that make sense? So these are potential max ranges for the session today if they really wanted to expand us, okay? You'd be looking at ranges like this. 17 would be the first overhead. But, and then off opening range, a 22 point break I think is around the 18 mark, which is where they stalled, or 20. And then a 33, 34 point break off today's open is the 3.1 mark. So lots of confluence around 3.1. Okay. These are the areas that I think have the most confluence if they expand us. So to expand us, we obviously have to break into the zone, I would say before 3.30. Yeah, it'd be like channel to channel. Exactly, especially because they tried testing both ends of the trade, right? And why would they take it to a channel, you think, if they did that? I'm not saying they're going to take it to the channel. Like, they could easily still stall this zone area here and just digest it there, but why could they take it to a channel? What would be the purpose of that? Yes, because a channel gives you some time to think, right? It's like a thinking box, thinking things through. Bank of America clearing that 53.40. This is exactly where we want this, guys, for month end. This is a huge trade for November, FYI. Okay? Especially them taking it here for end of month. Look at the range breaks too on that 53.40 break. We're going to watch 312 and 314. Those are generic flips for ES. On the 8-1 breaks. We want to see a closing price over 8-1. There it is. 68.81 being taken out here. I think we have really good odds, guys, of getting to the zone. Remember earlier how I was saying if you voted 7-4, 7-8, you're wrong. I already knew that we were going to break 7-8, 7-4 just by how it was trading back here. I could tell just even by how it was looking around 218, 219, 220. That there's no way they're going to stall 7.4 to 7.8. I highly doubt that. If anything, the first bigger overhead I think is going to be closer to like this 8.1 to 8.3 area. The biggest overhead is definitely going to be between where? What's the big overhead you guys think that they are likely trying to stall here a little bit before imbalance prints? What's the big area here, you think? Or the bigger overhead? This PA on Bank of America is actually pretty insane. because this thing was stuck all afternoon. I started to give up hopes that it was actually going to break out of this stupid inside day and give me the close that I needed for the month. It's like 1 cent away from breaking it. Yes, 88.89. It's actually closer to 87. 87.25 to 89 area. So if they, in other words, that's 44 points. We're ranging about 88 to 107 points on the week. If they can get this here, which this area is also 60, yeah, exactly, 6850 on SPX, which is the 8183. If they can break this area here, and they can test and get into the zone before imbalance prints, how high do you guys think those odds are of expanding this afternoon? And I'm not one of those traders that's just like, okay, this looks great, let's just cover here. If there is odds that they could take this up another 30 points, we're going to capture that. So we want to make sure odds are in our favor, okay? What do you guys think would be the best point in time to test 8.7 by? We haven't had breaks over 8.3 yet. Like I said, I think 8.3 is a bit of a wall here. What do you think would be an appropriate point in time here? I forgot that today is Halloween. Yeah, that's why it was so important to get entries down here. I actually had a late entry because of the stupid stream. Look, I didn't get my 4-4 4-8 entry. I entered closer to here. But anything I think of beneath 5-8 was still good, or you could at least somewhat manage the risk. Oh, they did take it out. Wow, okay, Bank of America finally breaking out of that inside range just in time for month end. This is the perfect closing point for this one into monthly close. I don't know if you guys traded the other names that I traded, but like even Pfizer, this thing held up so well while the market was coming down. XOM did really good too, but it kind of just pulled back a little bit. They will explode if we can actually get a break. The 6869 backtest wasn't bad here either. A little bit more risky, but I think the 5-7 stick really helped. All right, let's see if they can give us that 8-3 break by like 318. I'd say your odds definitely increase. So first condition, maybe between 318 to 321. You want to test 6883. Okay. Between 21 and 24 would be the earliest odds of getting an 8-7 test here, okay? If... What covered there? Oh. PFE is trading above high volume. Okay. I wonder if they're rolling it out then. Yeah, I use for stocks and options, I started going back to Questrade. And then for futures, Interactive. And then sometimes I'm using my TD account. It's just that the fees with TD are just so expensive. All right, let's see here, guys. If they can test by this 18 mark off 8.3, that's our first condition being met, which would give us odds of testing the zone as early as this period here before imbalance prints. Okay. You're Canadian? I didn't know that you're Canadian. I don't know why I thought you were American the whole time. Oh, you're from Toronto. I did not know that. I don't know why I thought you were in the States. I thought you were from New York for some reason. 6883 guys being met here ahead of that 18 stick. This is really good. This is giving odds of getting that zone break before 330. If they give us zone breaks before imbalance prints, our odds are really high that at the very least they can reclaim opening range. And they can give us that retest of 68.99, 69.01, 69.0, whatever it was, 3, I think, 69.06. Basically neutral ranges. IB. Let's see. I wasn't going to do a stream today, but I'm like, this is a potentially really, really good long off our weekly support and off that channel. All right, let's do some polls here. How many people think... Don't you guys love that I do these polls, and then if I look at the answer and I'm like, that's definitely wrong, I'll just say it before it even happens. I feel like I make some people feel bad afterwards. Sorry about that. Okay, so how many people here think that we'll clear 6788 before 330? Actually, let's make this more interesting. Before 328. Because technically speaking, and vote on this very quickly because there's not that much time left. MARA crossing back over that 1808 like I was saying earlier. That one had some pretty good odds of doing that. Okay, if there's 64 viewers, guys, at least 30 people should vote on that. Come on. MARA getting some range breaks here into the close. I figured crypto could see some relief. I'm looking for crypto to get back to 110.470 by the close for month end. Okay. I'm getting really close to hitting one of my first exits here. I decided to hold just because we still had very good odds. Obviously, don't do what I'm doing just because that's what I'm doing. Do whatever is appropriate for your account size. I think if we get these zone odd breaks here, they could really expand this, guys, today. Especially if they're doing this ahead of 3 o'clock or 3:30. 68.86.25 being tested here. Remember what we said, if they can test as early as like that 324, 321 through 324, this is going to give us really good odds of expanding on the session, guys. 321 breaking. Wow, you guys, we could move to the channel today on this kind of break. Can someone document this? Let me move my exits way up. Hold on. Because this is now 44 points and before imbalance prints. 68.88 being tested here right at 321. Remember how I said I think a lot of accounts can recover today and go completely red to green? I can't believe they actually did it. They actually broke into the zone, guys, at 321. That's insane. They actually broke back 87, 89. They even hit 89. You know what that means. What does that mean for our 324 or 328 to 330 period? What is this implying? Hurry, hurry, hurry. I would say that this would definitely be a good spot to take at least 25% off if you didn't take anything off yet. But that break at 321 right over 88 and or 87, 88, 89. I just want to see, where did they open the actual session today? What was it again? 9.4 or something like that? Or no, 69.02. Okay. So, okay, give me some conditions, guys. How early can we retest 68.99? I feel like if they broke at 321, 88.89, they could probably retest the zone. Not the zone, sorry, the neutral zone, 68.99, 98, as early as the 330, 336 period. Okay. I'm going to shut the hell up for a second so I can make sure I get the best covers possible, and then we'll see here. Watch 327. And I'm going to set a bunch of alerts, okay? 60. No, I have to leave my desk physically to get water. And that's not happening. I'm just going to shut up. You guys have to be up at least like 200 or 300% on your contracts. I didn't take any covers yet. I don't know if I'm gonna regret this, you guys. But I haven't covered yet. I feel like I want to give it at least till 3:30. Please, Trump, don't come and say anything fucking stupid. Min Shen Allah, please do not say anything stupid. Wow, that's a really good trade, Brendan. Well, I didn't get the entry I wanted at 4.4 or 4.8. I got it at 5.4, so I was pretty annoyed. And it was because I was streaming. So I wanted to get the most out of my trade. If I entered back down in here, though, I would have probably at least covered half. But every condition was met, and they were met on time, so there isn't really any big reason to cover just yet. That's still a really good trade, Brendan. Good job. Okay. We said we're going to watch 2.7. I want to see if 2.7, 2.8, you guys, test 9.2, 9.3 area, okay? If they can start clearing around 9.2, 9.3, 9.450 is some overhead. If they get there as early as, let's say, like 329, 330, there's some pretty good odds that they can clear 98 during that 336 to 332 period. I think they're gonna do it. Did they test 9.3 yet at 2.8? This is the 2.8 stick, right? Yes, they did. This is looking good. I should have done a poll. Damn it, why didn't I do a poll? How many here think we're gonna hit 68.99 before before 336? Okay, now that we're at least back in the zone, okay, let's do one more max range for real-time session today. 68.99 to 69.01, 69.03 to 69.06, 69.08 to 69.12, 69.17 to 69.21, 69.22 to 69.32. There's odds they could take it to 3.8. I'm just gonna leave that out for now. Can you guys vote on that, please? I set that timer for 5 minutes just to give you guys some time to think about it, because these are some pretty big points in the day here, especially at, they did trigger 9.450, right? At 2.8? Yeah, they did. Okay. So 9.450 condition was met right at that 328 period. I didn't really have super high odds for 330. I'm kind of watching closer to 332 and 36, but we'll see what they do off the 330 stick. This is still mid bear zone, so it does get kind of tricky here. But essentially we want to see if they can try clearing we'll watch the 3-3 stick here too. And 3-8. Come on. Can we get more votes, guys, on the max ranges? No one's going to come on a live stream, guys, as we're hitting lows and tell you, hey, we can move up 66 points. The least thing that you guys can do is at least vote on the polls. And I didn't size appropriately because of the stream. So the least you guys can do is vote. 68.94 being broken here at 31. I had better odds at 3.2. This is the earliest odd of testing this 9.8 area. I want to see if they can trigger 98.50. Thanks, Ryan. So let's see if they can get to the zone between this 3.2, 3.3. They have odds to push this back to opening range as early as, yeah, it was. That was the weekly support off the report. euro 3844. They're gonna take this back to, they could probably take this back to core ranges and maybe the channel with this kind of moving here. Thanks, Mose. Okay, let's see what they do here. Let's see what they do. If you guys think I become too greedy, tell me, okay? I just have really high confidence in my trade, but and my analysis, but I sometimes get greedy too. So just tell me if you guys think I should cover at least 2 contracts. I should probably cover at least 1 contract. No, I'm gonna wait till 336. I don't consider that being greedy though. I consider that being calculated. Like, I highly doubt someone else is sitting here tracking every minute and every price point. You know what I mean? And every range. So I would be doing myself a disservice by covering a little too early, especially before a big flip. You know what I mean? Like 335, 336 takes out 98. This thing could snap 6906. So no, I'm not covering there. 68.99 being tested here. Yes, exactly. And then people were like, oh yeah, cover half. And then it went up fucking 800% the next day. Yes, I remember that. I remember that. And that was my first time ever asking anyone if I should cover. And then the options were up 1800% on the day, the next day. And I had covered, I didn't cover half. I covered 80%, remember? I covered 80% of my trade. And it went up 800% the next day. Do you know how angry I was that I covered like, see, this is exactly what I mean. 68.99 being tested here. We have odds of testing OR as early as this 3536 period. 6902, 6903 has very good odds of being cleared here. This is putting very good odds in play to get back to the channel today. This is going to give 10x trades, guys, on a lot of these plays. There's no way you guys should have missed any of this. At least to 68.99, 69.01. Even 68.88. The fact that they broke here at 21 into the zone at the earliest point in time implied that they're going to get to the zone before 336. Are you guys learning from this, at least? Like the 321 zone entry, no, it didn't just break 8.7, it tested 8.9. And it's also month end. So the odds are working in our favor. I think I should probably cover some of my other positions, so. Yes. That's definitely a spot. Hey, Pfizer finally getting that break that we were looking for earlier. PFE getting that break of 24.68 with volume. I was looking to see what range was reduced, guys, between 335 to 336. Okay, because that was the earliest odd or highest odd of triggering opening range. What was our opening range for the session, guys? Where did they open the session today? Because my shit's freezing up, so someone tell me. Was it 69.06? The session open. What was the session open? My stuff's freezing. My broker froze. 69.02? What was... Are you sure it was 69.02? For the session? I remember it being 69.06. 69.06.50. I don't know why that's freezing, guys. Not real time. Session. I said not real time. The actual session, overnight session. What time did it was 69.06.50, right? Do you see this? The range that they reduced between 3536, okay, was 6.25 points. That would take you back to the actual session, okay? Open. Do you see that? Do you guys see this? So where are you guys seeing this? Not, sorry, for yesterday. 69.06.50. So there's the reduction here would have taken you back to yesterday's session open, which can put you back in those ranges, okay? Of yesterday's ranges, which is how you'd have those odds of maybe getting back into the channel. So they reduced that odd rate back in here at 3536. There's still that window between 345 and 348. So let's see. Yeah, sorry, that was my bad. I'm sorry about that. I meant yesterday's session open. Bank of America is still getting like these massive breaks. I don't know if, did any of you guys do this trade? These contracts actually moved 500%. XOM is going to pin exactly where we want it to. I want XOM back at 115.52. That's a core area on XOM. If it gets back there for monthly close, that would be so ideal. Calculated reductions are around 04, 02, 05, 06, 25, 06.50. We're going to see if they can get there before 350. If they do, that's how we could get some crazy end-of-day trades. Okay? And maybe some breaks back into core ranges. We'll have to see. What did you guys vote on the poll? 69.08 to 69.12 and 69.17 to 21 was tied? Okay. If they want to keep it neutralized, they could also pin this area here, so just kind of keep that in mind. Especially if they keep it beneath 02. So it's a pretty big area to stall here before 350. Another reduction stick off core 5. They're starting to reduce range a little bit. Oh, that's that 6900.25 spot from yesterday. Okay, see what they do here. Like I said, the last 10 minutes could be pretty volatile. 68.88 protected off 350, back to 9.4. This needs to clear back over 9.4. At this point, they need to try getting this back over this 9.998, probably between this 5.5, 5.4 period. It seems like they're going to try pinning these closing points here into the close. Sorry, I just have a lot of positions, guys, so I'm trying to manage. Yes, there is with OPEX, exactly. It's our last 10-minute rule. Has that helped you guys, like this rule right here that I made up? And that if they get minimum breaks here, that you can get the continuation by the 354. So if they can get this back, even by 353, this could really help us extend by 354, 55. Okay, they still left a little bit of range into the close. So we probably don't have odds for core anymore, but maybe, unless they give us some crazy end of day sticks. There could be some really good SPX trades, guys, into the close. If you like putting on risk like that. I know some people don't. I feel like I covered in my other account too early, but that's okay. I just don't want to manage any more than I have to. Okay. Let me... There's no close over 9.4. That's a little concerning, so just be mindful of that, guys. I would have preferred that they closed over that. Sorry guys, I have to focus because I didn't like how they, I didn't, like I said, I didn't like that 350 stick. That wasn't, it was an okay stick, but definitely not strong. That had to close over 9.4. So I could tell that, especially when 5.3, you see how 5.3 stalled 9.1? So I just wanted to make sure I took everything off before it dropped like that. Overall though, still a really, really, really good move. Okay, we still had a very good few trades on that break. And you still should have had some really good exits on that too. No, yeah, I that's why I muted myself. I want to hurry because I knew they were going to sell it off on that 5.4, 5.5 stick. And those premiums drop fast. I think I'm gonna leave actually my oil calls into next week. I don't think I'm gonna sell those. Maybe just a bit, but they're holding up pretty good, so I don't really have a reason to. Yeah, that stall right here, it was mostly when they started stalling here, okay, especially at 3.5, 3.6. So that was a very important point in the day because that was the highest odd to retrace back over those ranges. But here, off the 4.5 stick when they reduced range, and then right in here when they held the zone at 350, but they didn't break it back over 9.4. This was an issue, okay? So, and then 5.3 not snapping that, this put really high odds that 5.5, 5.4 would break this back. Because remember what I said, we have odds of getting what kind of a close today? So if they reduced, think about it. If they reduced odds, okay, of getting, like this is a lot of reduction in range. This is at least 24 to 22 points, okay? So if they reduced odds of getting 24 points, which would take us back to our 2.223, think about it. What kind of close are they going to give us? A core close, right? So if they can't pin it here, in here, okay, they'd have to pin it where? Here, right? Because these would be core closing points. You'd rather pin at core than pin in the zone at this point, just to balance your week. Does that make sense? So hopefully that allowed you guys at least to cover in time. Crypto made its move back up like we thought, but stalled a little bit. MARE is getting a move all the way back to these ranges here. So at that point, the best core areas to close, especially for the session, are going to be obviously the 7.4, 7.6, 7.8, same conditions as where we initially stalled. 359 taking down that 7.7, 7.6 area, that was the 34-point break that we initially needed to even get there in the first place. Remember how I said we could move 56 points? That's insane. They actually moved 56.5 points, you guys. That is crazy. We talked about this earlier. Remember how I said that we have higher odds of moving in core ratios? Because it's a core week, so they could move core ranges, which are like usually 51 to 56.5 points. That's pretty crazy. They moved exactly 56.5 points off lows. where they stalled at there. So they have very good odds of just pinning it anywhere, ideally above 6.6. Hopefully they can pin at least around 7.6 to 7.8 for the actual session. Sorry guys that I had to stop right at that 350. I want to make sure I manage my positions because I still had pretty big size still on. I covered when they stalled at 3.5 and 3.6, half the position, and then I was just waiting to see what they do by that 350, 354. This one had a really good break here too. Pfizer also looked really good into the close. Bank of America still looks good for some swings. Should be a good weekend. Any questions, guys, before I sign off for the week, or is that pretty straightforward? So we mentioned earlier that they will probably move in core ratio, so 56.5 points is an exact core ratio off lows. That's likely why they stalled around that 69.01 area. And also, if they knew that they couldn't meet the condition of breaking 69.05 to get to 69.20s, because you don't really want to pin in a neutral area too. What's better, guys, pinning in a bear zone or a neutral zone, or pinning back at core ranges? What do you guys think is better for price action? Especially now that we've tested both sides. We tested the 40s and we tested the 50s. If they can pin it back in the core ranges, that's probably better for us. And this is now going to leave us, oh, let me reset my chart before I sign off. I forgot that I deleted all of it. Everyone's fairly quiet. Do you guys not have any comments before the close? Anything you guys want to add? Okay, if you guys are good, then I'm going to sign off. Everyone have a good weekend. Happy Halloween. Be safe tonight if you're trick-or-treating.